The Floor is Lava, a children's game, strangely a hit show on Netflix, and the setup for this video. Could we survive in Louisville without touching the ground outside of buildings? The setup for this was fairly simple. I created a sandbox world with high population and no respawn. Due to the amount of building I would do, I went with the carpenter profession, and a fairly normal smattering of traits. Taking the smoker trait was a bit of a gamble, as finding cigarettes would be tricky. In order to give the run a goal, I decided that an artifact that could save humanity is stored in the Louisville Art Museum, and we must make our way there in order to win. To facilitate the challenge, I have also given my character a hammer, a screwdriver, and a saw to start the game with. I began in an office. The first office had a bourbon bottle in the drawer and an empty mini fridge along the wall. I found some matches in a different desk drawer. Crossing the hallway, a few bookshelves with a smattering of books that were dubiously useful. In the next office, I found a pair of scissors, which would have to do as my weapon for the time being. After checking a few more offices, the gamble that was taking the smoking trait paid off when I found some cigarettes and matches. Slowly, I made my way through the building I found myself in. The break room contained a very limited amount of food. I found a briefcase in an office giving me a little bit of extra carrying capacity. While going to refill my water, I stumbled across my first zombie in a room that I'd already looted. He must have wandered up here while I was away. After dispatching him, another zombie greets me coming up the stairs. The food is so limited in this building that I figure we will have to move on quickly. I go up the stairs and start dismantling some of the furniture to give me the resources I will need to build our escape bridge. Before the day is through, a few more zombies find me and must be dealt with. After dealing with these zombies, I stumbled across a utility room that I had missed previously. It contains an extremely damaged crowbar and a wrench. It is at this point that I discovered a quirk in the way that the building system functions. If I'm trying to place a floor tile out an open window from the inside, the game lets me do this if the window is on the north or west side of the building. However, if I attempt to place it out a window on the south or east side of the building, it isn't allowed. When I step out on the bit of flooring I made, I finally realize where we are. We're across the street from the downtown police department. Getting in there will be a lot of work. For now, however, it's sleep time, so I block a door with a chair and sleep on the couch in one of the offices. In the morning, while I'm collecting the materials I need to build a bridge across the road, a large group of zombies show up. And it turns out to be too much for me to handle this early on, with poor skills and weapons. So it's back to the home screen, and attempt number 2. I spawned in some sort of industrial kitchen. Stepping out of the kitchen, I was greeted with a large cafeteria-style room with a large LSU logo on the wall. It didn't take much brain power to figure out that I'd spawned in the dining hall of Louisville State University. While I wasn't super familiar with this part of the map, I knew that the dorms were close, and they would be a good place to work through the first couple of days if I could get there. I found a knife in the kitchen and a tote bag and a cabinet, which gave me a little bit of carrying capacity. I took stock of the area. My smoker gamble paid off again, finding some in a desk. I also spotted a large building directly south of the dining hall. I thought this was the dorms, and if I was right, it would make things much simpler. Returning to the kitchen, I moved all the food available into one of the freezers, hoping to stretch it out as long as possible. After that, it was a matter of dismantling a bunch of the furniture to acquire the wood and nails I would need to escape over to the next building. While I was working, a few local zombies discovered my hiding place and had to be dealt with. One of them brought me a satchel, and an army man zombie brought me a pair of military boots for stomping purposes. Rather than attempt a crossing in the evening when I was tired, I used some of the furniture on the second floor to build a barricade at the top of the stairs. Then I took to one of the couches for an uncomfortable night's sleep. In the morning, I finally took the first step outside the window to start the first bridge. I could hear the zombies below starting to bang on the door to the dining hall, so I retreated back inside to go meet them and dispatch them. While I was working, I heard a zombie coming and attempted to retreat back inside before he reached me. But he managed to make it out onto the bridge before I could get back inside. I had been worried about fighting on these skinny bridges, but I was able to dispatch him without too much trouble. Zombie handled, I only required a little more wood to make the final approach to the building next door. Reaching the window, I discovered that this was in fact the dorms that I had been hoping it would be. The first room I reached was empty, but exiting into the hallway, I was alone no more. I escaped back out the window, and despite seeing a bunch of zombies pile out after me, they didn't follow me down the bridge. Figuring they probably fell off, I went back inside to find some more zombies. Going back to the dorms, it turned out they hadn't fallen, but they'd gone back inside the dorms. I attempted to smash them as they came out the window, but got shoved over and scratched for my trouble. Pushing back into the dorms, now with a slight limp, I settled in for a fight. The zombies were kind enough to come mostly one or two at a time. I spent most of the rest of the day clearing out the second and most of the third floor. If you're enjoying the video, why not subscribe and join the messy dorm room that is this channel. And I was also finally able to catch a bit of the TV shows for that sweet, sweet free experience points. In the morning it was TV time, then it was loot time! In my past games I'd pretty much written off LSU for everything except the library, but it turns out I was very wrong about the dorms. The loot available here was way better than I expected. A lot of construction tools, a fair number of guns, multiple machetes and crowbars, and perhaps less surprising, a lot of bags. I cleared and looted the remaining floors of the dorm, occasionally coming across a few zombies here and there. I discovered a laundry room on the first floor, which might be nice if we wanted to do some laundry before the power and water went out. Looting done, I started on dismantling the rooms closest to the bridge. I carried some of our materials back over to the dining hall and found a zombie friend waiting in the corner. The next morning was foggy, and after TV time, I returned to the dining hall to begin my next bridge across to the library. I had to dispatch a few zombie friends on the first floor before I could begin construction. I had to keep going back to the dorms in order to not miss any of the TV shows, and while there I would take the opportunity to make sure the building remained clear of zombies. I also dismantled more furniture for nails and wood. After much back and forth, I finally made it to the library. I was actually surprised with how few zombies I discovered in the area. Returning home, I decided to change backpacks. I had been torn on which one to use, as the big hiking bag had slightly larger capacity, but the travel pack had a higher weight reduction. I went with the obvious answer. Which one looked cooler? So travel pack it was. Returning to the library, I thought it was a good idea to clear the area before I spent time looking at the books. The constant back and forth from the dorms to the library in order to not miss any of the TV shows was getting a little bit annoying, but we only had a couple of days of TV left. I also decided it was time for a laundry break. My time spent in the library was mostly about collecting the various magazines. One of the mods I was running, Scrap Weapons, had a fair number of skill magazines to find. I had thought there was a craftable sledgehammer as part of this mod, but I haven't found it yet, so I think I may be mistaken on this. I had wanted a sledgehammer, so it would be easier to open up building opportunities instead of having to stick to the north and west of the buildings. Also, it would have allowed me to install proper doors at our transition points instead of climbing in and out of windows. Now that I had what I needed from the library, I started building my bridge east towards the administration building. Returning home to the dorms that evening, the helicopter arrived. I moved some tables to block the staircases on the second floor to prevent zombies from coming and visiting me, but mostly I just hunkered down and hoped for the best. The zombie fallout from the helicopter turned out to not be too bad. Only a few new zombie friends that needed killing as I walked the path between the dorms and the library. Finishing my bridge and crossing into the administration building, I discovered it was fairly empty, or so I thought. I was finally able to replenish my cigarette supply off all the desks. I was beginning to feel overly safe in the building when I opened a door and a small horde poured out, scratching me and almost taking me down. I met another sizable horde in a conference room a bit later. Alright, getting back into it. Moving back across the cafeteria, I had to clean out some of the zombies that had shown up overnight. I also took the opportunity to clean out the last bits of food that I'd left in the fridge. Back in the administration building, I cleared a few zombies that had greeted me at the top of the stairs, and then proceeded to attempt the first clearing of the bottom floor. I quickly discovered another small library in one corner of the first floor. Clearing my way to the other end of the building, I found an infirmary with some much-needed medical items inside, most notably of which was a supply of beta blockers to help with the panic I got outside due to my character's agoraphobia. In the last room of the infirmary, I could see a small horde outside the window in the rain, so being the kind-hearted man that I am, I invited them inside to dry off. That taken care of, I went back up the stairs into the room in the eastern corner of the building to begin the dismantling process and start building my next bridge. The first stop was a small house nearby that, as it turned out, was being used as offices. I was able to loot the upstairs without incident, but once I went downstairs, a group spotted me through the doorway. I tried to tell them that it was outside my office hours, but they insisted. Undergrads. With those zombies dealt with, I returned all the way back to the dorms for another night's sleep. I decided that this would be my final night in the dorms. If I had to sleep on the floor of the administration building, so be it. I couldn't deal with going back and forth anymore. Back in the administration building, I went back to dismantling and building. Occasionally I would have to take breaks to deal with zombies who had found their way into the building, either because of my noise or just random zombie jiggling. Give me an L. Give me a S. I guess she's not gonna give me a U. I began building my new bridge east, away from the administration building to some row houses I could see across the street. So I was planning on walking across this way to this apartment complex and then heading to the north, but I've spotted this barbecue area over there with the door. So I think I'm gonna head that direction instead. So that seems better. I spent a rough night sleeping on a couch in the admin building, and then began my bridge north. As usual, this required frequent breaks to smash in some zombie heads before getting back to work. I think that officer's finally bringing me a pistol. Eventually, I made it all the way across to the door. I checked inside to find an apartment. In order to keep it safe, I used a spare plank I had to barricade the door to the stairwell, and for good measure, I ripped up the floor, leaving a hole to the area below. That handled, I returned to the admin building to collect my stuff and move into my swanky new apartment. Before calling it a night, I dismantled most of the wooden items in the house and used them to make a small bridge to the top of the diner next door. In the morning, I began my next bridge, north to the pizza world across the street. After running out of wood, I collected several empty bags and returned to the administration building to get the wood I needed. I discovered in the day or so since I had left, a fair number of zombies had arrived, and they had to be introduced to my sharp friend. Upon finally finishing my bridge to Pizza World, a zombie busted a window and set off an alarm in the building. Next morning, another trip back to the admin building for wood and zombie head smashing, then back to Pizza World and my new bridge across to what at the time I thought was an apartment complex. When I finally made it across, I discovered that it was in fact not an apartment at all, but an office building. Heading out in the hallways, I was surprised to see how sparsely populated it was there. Until... God damn it. That's a few zombies. Actually gonna make it off this thing. So right here. Actually navigating it. Yikes. Zombies don't usually make it on, down the lines. They're smarter than the other zombies. Well, that was terrifying. Upon re-entering, I dealt with the remaining few zombies at hand. But I decided I needed to find the stairs in order to prevent the constant stream of street-level zombies coming up to harass me. I found the first set of stairs in the southeast corner of the building and ripped up the floor to stop the zombies. Pushing my way back up the hallway to the middle of the building, I spotted the elevators and knew there would be another set of stairs there. As I was ripping up the floor, the sound of zombies breaking doors was coming from nearby. But with luck, I was able to remove the floor before the zombies made it into the stairs. Worried there might be a third set of stairs, I rushed to the far end of the hallway, but it turned out to just be a bathroom. But just because the first floor was cut off didn't mean I was safe. I proceeded to clear the second and third floors. On the next morning, while I was taking apart desks for raw materials, I managed to hit level 10 carpentry. Go me. Afterwards, it was just a matter of dismantling and bridge building. For a long time. I decided it would be a good idea to set up the occasional island along the bridges, where I wouldn't have as much to worry about in terms of falling off. Approaching the next office building, I was greeted by a group of zombies, bursting their way out the window almost immediately. Several of them even made it all the way back to my island before being finished off. Falling back from the offices, I started building towards the apartments I could see in the next block. I didn't want to get in them just yet, but I was trying to activate the zombies that would be inside in case they hadn't been spawned yet. At some point during my recordings, I started using the mouse walk to command in order to move on the bridges. The character seemed to navigate better than when I did it by hand, and it removed a lot of the stress I was feeling about potentially falling off. In order to clear this next building, I decided to employ a little bit of a cheese. Here is how the cheese works. You need 2 cubicle walls, or you could do it with half walls, but cubicle walls are a little bit sturdier. Place them like so. And now zombies, they come over the one wall, and they do the you get over both of them. The zombies will come over one wall, they'll do the lunge attack, but they can't hit you because you're on the other side of a wall. And then you can smash them. Like this. For example. Gotta watch for your character to look down, smash. Look down, smash. Smash. Like I said, bit of a cheese, but it works. I spent most of the rest of the day smashing zombies. In the morning, oh, lost our mohawk. I'm just a hairy man. From mohawked to long-haired. We can find some hair stuff. Maybe we'll re-mohawk later. I returned to the building, and it seemed like it was fairly quiet. I decided it would be a good idea to see if I could find and remove the stairs in this building. I did in fact manage to find the stairs, but I couldn't get the holes punched in the floor before the new zombies came to interrupt my work. Oh God.
Oh God. Oh God.
I managed to escape back out the window I came through, and then due to the large number of zombies in the building, the never-ending smashing began. Unless you think there is a perfect cheese, there were a few times when I got overwhelmed and had to fall back from the zombies. The number of zombies in the nook between the walls eventually got to be so high that my character started to experience corpse sickness, and I had to fall back to get some fresh air. Because not all of the zombies made it to the smashing pit, and instead fell off the side of my bridge, the number of zombies below me was starting to get quite high. I attempted to use the sound of the gun to lead them away, but it doesn't seem to have worked the way I wanted it to. The first stop in this episode was back to my divider wall, and the constant pull smash pull of trying to make it into the office building. I was occasionally able to make a push into the building proper, every time hoping I could make it to the stairs in order to stem the flow of zombies, and every time being pushed back out the window. I figured out that the problem was that the zombies below me on the street were able to path all the way through the building and up the stairs in order to attack me. Due to the fact that they sometimes fell off my bridge before reaching the smashing zone, meant that they potentially made several loops before being killed. This was tedious, to say the least. In response, I hatched a plan to try and remove a good portion of the street-level zombies. My old standby, fire. In Project Zomboid, fire can jump 1Z level. So my bridge at level 2 was in danger of being set on fire, so I built a set of stairs to the 3rd story in order to keep my bridge from burning. Once up high enough, I threw a Molotov and started shooting and shouting to hopefully bring all the local zombies to the barbecue. One of the problems with this was that since they were literally directly below me, I couldn't see anything, so I had to rely on the sound of burning Zeds to know when they were finished. I was a little worried about them wandering off and lighting other buildings on fire, so I had to keep yelling and keep shooting to keep them tightly clustered. Sadly, all this fire didn't work out as I hoped, as I was greeted with more zombies waiting for me when I returned to the office building. In the morning, the bad news kept coming as the electricity finally died. Oh, there goes the power. That lasted a long time. 25 days, or basically 26 days. That's like, I think that's the longest I've seen in a very long time. Well, I guess we need to start eating stuff. I decided that this office building thing wasn't going to happen, so I redirected my efforts to the apartments across the street. Setting up my smashing barriers and building a new bit of bridge, I engaged the zombies within. After a bit of back and forth through the windows, I was able to hold my own inside the building long enough to pull up the flooring in front of the stairs. This meant that the level I was currently on was safe, but the floors above me were cut off. I returned outside and constructed a set of stairs to give me access to the upper floors through the outside windows. Grabbing a TV from one of the apartments, I went down the stairs to cut off the upper floors from the street. The TV turned out to be a clutch idea because right as I was placing it, a street-level zombie wandered up the stairs. TVs used to be indestructible, but now they're just hard to break, so I wasted no time ripping up the floor and giving us full access to the apartments. Now that the apartments were free from any additional zombies joining the party, I proceeded to clear the building of any stragglers that hadn't made it down the stairs. I also took a moment to build a wall around the holes I had made in the 2nd story to keep me from falling by accident. After that, I spent a couple of in-game days dismantling and hauling all the wooden furniture in the building, down to the new bridge I was building out the north side. I did take a detour back to our previous smashing zone to get an idea of how many zombies were actually killed there. My intention was to see how long it took to rip up all the clothes, but as you can see, I accidentally selected craft sheet rope instead. Regardless, that number showed 656, so there were a lot of dead zombies on that square. The next bridge started to come together. I mostly avoided the other buildings along the route, but did jump into a small apartment because it seemed quiet enough. After much back and forth, the materials from the apartment building were enough to build me a bridge all the way down the block to the next major intersection. I didn't have enough materials to keep building the bridge, so I reluctantly came to the conclusion that I would have to try and take at least some portion of this building on the corner. I got the bridge close enough to the large building to activate the zombie population inside, and they immediately started breaking the windows. I set up my smashing zone and a platform for the zombies to exit through, and began what was now a well-practiced procedure of luring the zombies out for smashing. The first set of stairs to the street were not very far inside the building from where we breached, and after some back and forth, I was able to manage to just barely get the floor taken out as a zombie approached. The building was huge though. More than 4 stories tall, and most of the city block. The next few in-game days were smashing and luring, smashing and luring. My old friend Corpse Sickness returned. I finally managed to make some headway as the main hallway became carpeted in zombie corpses. I identified the next stairwell in the middle of the building near the elevators. Using a trash can as a temporary blocker, I was able to rip the floor in this section as well. I explored the rest of the floor, killing zombies along the way, a fair number of them still waiting in various corners of the building. I found the final set of stairs in the north corner, and thanks to the security door there, I was able to rip up the floor and make it safe from new zombies. I'm unsure at this point if I'm going to make a play for the upper floors or not. I suspect the number of zombies up there is substantial still. Starting a new bridge at the northern end of the building, I take in the sights and look out at the final 2 blocks between us and our goal. My hope is that we can source enough wood in this building to make it all the way to the art museum in order to touch the mystical artifact that will save humanity. I decided to loot the rest of the floor as it hadn't been fully explored yet. I was dismantling furniture along the way. Behind the stairs, I discovered a storage facility with metal bars separating the storage areas. This room was apparently classified like a storage facility in the wider world because I made quite the discovery. Well, that changes things. After finding the sledgehammer, it was more dismantling and then time for bed. This turned out to be a mistake, as I awoke in the morning feeling queasy, a sure sign of corpse sickness. There must have been so many bodies around that even this back bedroom wasn't safe. The corpse sickness required me to retreat back out of the building and wait for the queasiness to clear. I took the time to collect some bags from the old building and then move them back towards the current building. With the wood I had found so far, I began to build a new bridge. But as I did, zombies started raining down from the levels above. At first I just killed a few thinking they would stop soon. But that turned out to be wrong as the zombies kept falling. There's a lot of zombies. Oh, that was terrifying. I had intended to avoid clearing the upper floors, but the rain of zombies told me that I would probably need to deal with it if I wanted my path to be safe. The sledgehammer would make the process of putting holes in the floor quicker and hopefully make clearing easier. I began by repairing the hole I'd made in the southern stairwell, moving quickly inside to punch a hole in the ground in front of the stairs leading to the street level. Upon moving up to the third floor, I was surprised by the light zombie presence. And used it to make a quick approach to the middle stairwell, cutting that stairwell off from the street level. At this point, only the northern stairwell remained connected to the street level, and its near infinite amount of zombies. Of course, nothing good can last, so as I approached the end of the hallway and the final set of stairs, the flood of zombies from either the other floors or the street, or both, appeared. I pushed and pushed, but the zombies just kept coming. I fell all the way back to the southern bridge to give the zombies a little bit of time to forget about me before pushing back into the building. Realizing I wasn't going to make it all the way to the stairs, I punched holes in the floor in the hallway, even though it was 4 across. Satisfied that I was safe from the flood, I began looting, but quickly discovered a little indie stone oopsie. 2 apartments were missing a wall between them, providing a circle around my safety pits. I rushed forward and poked a new hole in front of the door to keep the flooding zombies out. While looting and clearing the remaining of the 3rd floor, I found another storage area, with not 1 but 2 generators in it. They were sadly useless to me as all generators spawn without fuel, and I had no way I could think of to source gasoline. Examining the rest of the 3rd floor, I found a nice outdoor space and a spacious atrium, with a set of stairs to the next floor. Proceeding to the 4th floor, I rushed to the middle stairwell to make sure that it was safe from surprise zombies. This was probably overkill because the hole I made on the previous floor would keep street zombies from coming up, but I was still worried about the possible hordes from above descending on me like a bunch of zombie crows. Things were quieter on this floor, and I was able to make my way to the northern stairwell and punch a hole there, protecting me from the zombies below. With only a couple of floors left, I fell back to rest up for the next assault. Returning to the building, I did some light zombie cleanup from a few stragglers as I made my way back up to the next floor. The zombie presence here was light enough that I was able to make it safe without too much hassle. Moving up to the next floor, I was expecting it to be nice and clear, like the floor below it, but I was in for a fight. After fighting my way back to the stairs, I was finally able to punch a hole and make the building safe from the street zombies. The only ones remaining to fight were the ones that were still in the building itself. I began looting this floor and occasionally had to deal with a few stray zombies hiding in closets and rooms. I briefly took a trip all the way to the roof, but besides a zombie and a few tables to dismantle, there wasn't much to see up here. While exploring another storage room, I stumbled upon Santa gear in a box, so I decided if I can't have my mohawk anymore, I can at least bring a little bit of Christmas cheer to the zombies. At this point, I began the Great Dismantle, clearing room after room of furniture. Now, the eagle-eyed among you may have spotted this earlier, but I should admit here that I did in fact have the cheat menu mod turned on at this point. I was using it to give myself infinite carrying capacity, because I have but one short human life, and spending extra hours just hauling planks 12 at a time from the 5th floor to my bridge didn't seem like a very good use of it. I hope you understand. For the next couple of in-game days, it was mostly dismantling with the occasional break to clear a zombie I had missed previously. I returned to my bridge with somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 planks and started building. Those planks allowed me to build a bridge up to the next intersection and then a little ways into the next block. Coming back down my bridge, I was greeted by more zombies falling from above. It was then that I realized that the balcony directly above me was still accessible by the street zombies, so I had to redo the beginning of my bridge to avoid the drop zone. After a bunch more dismantling, it was back to bridge building, this time making it most of the way down the current block. I discovered a few zombies I had missed previously when I returned to dismantling. After another round of marathon dismantling, I was pretty sure I had enough planks for my final push to the art museum, but I came up a bit short. On my trips back and forth, I had attempted to lure the bulk of the zombies lingering around the museum back to the south towards the start of the bridge. My hope was that this would lessen the number of zombies I would have to deal with inside of the museum when I made it there. It sort of worked. After a final round of dismantling, I approached the museum. As I got close, I realized that the windows were on the 3rd story as opposed to the 2nd story my bridge was. Luckily, I had enough planks to build a set of stairs. After a good night's sleep, I made my final approach, breaking the window and making it inside. Despite some zombie interference, I was able to close off the main set of stairs and quickly made it to the offices for the employee stairs. I then cleared out the offices of zombies and made my way to the galleries. I was surprised to find a back set of stairs that I didn't know were there, but closed them off without incident. After clearing the last of the zombies, I approached the artifact that would save humanity. Reached out, touched it. Exiting the building, the streets were clear and no longer lava. I could only hope that more of humanity than me had survived the zombie plague and the floor lavafication. I celebrated the solo dance party. As always, thanks for joining me on this video. Hope you had a good time. Consider giving it a like if you enjoyed it. This little series took more effort than I expected, so I hope you enjoyed it. I am, as always, a Crummy the Nurture, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.